his 24th birthday. Hello again and welcome to Pau. Actually, we've moved to the finishing line of today's second stage because amid rumour last night that the Tour de France may face further disruption today, not indeed from the Spanish, but now from the French. Striking lorry drivers are rumoured to be setting up a blockade that may indeed disrupt today's stage here into Pau. The riders themselves, well, they're in San Sebastian planning their departure from Spain, and this now is the overall situation this morning. At the top of the leaderboard, Alex Zulle of Switzerland by just 2 seconds ahead of yesterday's stage winner, Dominique Arnoux. The previous race leader after the prologue, Miguel Indurain, is back in third place. Of the other big names we've talked about, the world champion Gianni Bugno lies 6th, Eric Breukink is 8th, and the American Greg LeMond 10th. Claudio Chiappucci 29th, and the newcomer to the Tour, Franco Chioccioli, is in 42nd position. Now, yesterday, Alex Zulle became the new leader of the Tour de France by virtue of a 6 seconds time bonus, which he took very early on in the day's stage. Now, I should explain there are time bonus sprints on all of the road race stages of the Tour de France, but only for the first 10 days of the race. And as Alex has shown, they can affect the overall lead of the event. Yesterday, soon after the start, he broke clear of the field. And by the time he crossed the finishing line, all smiles in the sprint, he knew exactly what those 6 seconds meant. His plan from then on was to ride very near to the race leader Miguel Indurain, and if he finished alongside him, he knew he would be the new leader of the Tour de France. Well, it seemed an obvious question for Paul Sherwin to ask Alex Zulle, had that been his tactic of the day?
Yes, yesterday evening and this morning we spoke about it, that after 42 kilometres there was the first time bonus sprint for 6 seconds, and it was worth trying to go for it. But yeah, I was really nervous. My team made a very good tempo for me before the climb, and I jumped away alone on the climb. I managed to stay clear and win the 6 second time bonus.
And you think it's a big advantage for Indurain to let you take the jersey today?
I think it's better for Indurain, but I have the jersey today. Now he can ride the Tour more easily. And for me, I was riding all day in the hope that I could have the chance to take the yellow jersey. And I had the luck and took the yellow jersey.
After a good season, this must be a great day for you.
Yeah, sure, it's a great day. I have had a lot of good results so far this season, but for a new professional, the yellow jersey in the Tour, that is the greatest.
I bet it is. Last night, the Once team gave the birthday boy a memorable night. Wow, what lungs. Well, I can tell you now, he'll need those today as the race heads west from San Sebastian and into France. It's a very difficult route. There are a number of small climbs and hardly a flat road, with the Col de Marie-Blanque being climbed for the 6th time, the big obstacle, and over 1,000 metres high. And around the start this morning, Alex Zulle in his yellow jersey, and all set now to put up his first ever defence of it, he hopes at least in this year's Tour de France. The rollout this morning as the race says farewell to Spain and heads off towards the French frontier. 255 kilometres in the saddle today. And the all-important time sprints after 20 kilometres a day, 12 miles. Johan Museo was home first ahead of Laurent Jalabert, and the big sprinter Jamaluddin Abdou Japarov. A few seconds time bonus for those three. And the first big climb of the day, after Robert Miller had finished fourth on a third category climb after 28 kilometres, came on the Col de Marie-Blanque at 97 kilometres covered. And Richard Virenque of the RMO team was ahead here with Javier Merguialdi and Danto Rezzi of the RMO. They went over the top 8 kilometres in front of the field and with a lead of in excess of 22 minutes. Virenque starting the breakaway at around about 26 kilometres into today's stage. So that made the next big sprint at 156 kilometres at Moléon more or less a formality for Virenque ahead of Merguialdi and Rezzi. And now, as we join the two riders in the front on the climb of the Col de Marie-Blanque, there are in fact only two left, because Dante Rezzi, the winner of a stage of the Tour de France 1 year ago at Rennes, has just been dropped, leaving Merguialdi in the pink and Virenque ahead of the peloton, who are closing down very, very quickly indeed. The gap, which at one time was 22 minutes, the last check we had, Paul, was just 12.
Well, it's coming down all the time. In fact, it's now 11.5 minutes. So these riders behind really are speeding up. We've seen a lot of Greg LeMond's Z team at the front putting the pressure on. Also, earlier on, a lot of the Gatorade riders keeping the pressure on to try and pull these riders back into the fold. As we go back to the front of the race here, we can see the two riders struggling up the climb of Col de Marie-Blanque, which gets a lot steeper as we get nearer to the summit.
Incidentally, it's always nice, as you know, every year we do the Tour de France with you, to hear from you. And we do understand somebody rang in last night and queried how we pronounce the name of the erstwhile race leader, Miguel Indurain. Well, we've taken advice here over the last 18 months since he's become something of a star. There are two ways to say his name in the Spanish tongue, and all of the journalists and television commentators have chosen to say it the way we do, and in fact the way that Miguel does. So we're sticking with Miguel Indurain. There's the leaders in the Tour de France setting the pace, and there is Miguel Indurain, #1 as last year's winner. And just keeping an eye on the man on his far right there, that is Gianni Bugno, the balding Laurent Fignon just behind him, and just ahead of him Claudio Chiappucci. The stars, expected stars, should we say, Paul, of this year's Tour de France, making sure they don't lose sight of one another.
They're keeping very close together, watching each other all the time. The first few days are very, very nervous. They don't want anybody to take any advantage, but you can see the difference almost in the speed of the riders at the back here as they cruise up this climb, starting to put it into overdrive at the moment. Second position there is the Colombian who last year was on Miguel Indurain's team. That's Rondon, the Colombian guy. Come across to Gatorade. Gatorade have constructed a team totally for the Tour de France this year. They've had a very quiet year. And I think now we may well start to see a lot more of Gatorade than we have done in the first part of the season.
And now we are on the definitely the steepest part of the climb. It's a climb of some 9 kilometres with an average gradient of around 8%. It's a very steep climb indeed. We're climbing it from its steepest side. And this will be, in fact, the 7th time we will have climbed the race, the Marie-Blanque, during the Tour de France. And the muscles are almost popping out of the skin as they climb up towards the summit. Here is the situation, 1 kilometre to go now, a little more than half a mile for these two riders. So, Paul, they've survived very well on this climb. They've not conceded, at the moment, as much as I really thought they would have lost.
They haven't lost as much as we thought, but we're getting a time check here. That's 1 minute 50 on the rider who was with them before, Dante Rezzi. Now we get a check, 10.5 minutes on the main peloton. So they've lost 5 minutes on this climb, which is actually a reasonable ride.
Starting the climb steadily up towards the summit now, surviving with a bigger lead than I think they could have hoped for, you know, and with some 46 kilometres to go over the top, well, they could survive now. Let's have a look at the damage being done in the main field. Now look down the Col de Marie-Blanque and just see how this climb affects the main peloton. As the stragglers go all the way down here, a lot of daylight between those wheels. Well, the big climbers will be turning the screw very tightly at the front, and here they are, while at the back, the others will be just hoping they can hang on and not lose too much ground and maybe come back on the very quick descent. Gianni Bugno on the left of our picture, and being joined at the front here, it looks as though we've got Claudio Chiappucci up front, setting out the tempo, the same names of last year, the men who reached the podium in Paris, and Charlie Motte in 3rd place. once tipped as a likely winner of the Tour de France. He has in fact finished fourth, and look at Miguel Indurain in fourth slot as well. And the heads of state are going clear now. The yellow jersey of Alex Zulle, we just caught a glimpse of him there. He's losing ground. It's a question of how much he'll lose before the summit, and will he get it back? There's the gap now, down to 9 minutes 45 seconds, the main field on those two leaders. And still the crowd shout them up as they welcome the Tour de France in the Pyrenees now in France for the first time today. And look at this now, the hero of the day, Richard Virenque, who broke away alone, was joined by these two riders we've since seen dropped one by one. He's now going clear to claim maximum points on the first category climb. And you know, by the end of the day, there might be a big reward for him, and it could be the polka dot jersey of Franco Chioccioli. Chioccioli having to fight from the lower positions and scored a few points at the top of the climbs, because Virenque has been out front since the very first climb, which was crossed at 28.5 kilometers today.
Meurguialdi really has blown here. You can see the conviction has gone out of it. All it is now is a question of survival. He'll try and just get to the top and maybe take a few risks on the descent and get back into contact with Virenque. As we look further down the climb here, there really has been a lot of difficulty for some of the riders like Alex Zulle, who had the yellow jersey on his shoulders this morning. The rider there in the Z jersey is not Greg LeMond. In fact, it's Eric Boyer. There's Stephen Roche and Laurent Fignon. Look a little bit further down, see if we can get a glimpse. There's Eric Breakaway coming up there. There's Chioccioli in the polka dot jersey. Everybody looking round. We still can't get a sight of Greg LeMond. This was the thing that he was worried about today. He just wanted to get over this climb. He suffered yesterday on the climb. He wanted to get over the top of here and then have a bit of a rest for a few days.
And over the summit of the Col de Marie-Blanque, the clock on the left will start counting down the gap. Look at the time today, 6 hours 42 minutes to this point, and still some 46 kilometers to go to the finish. An average speed so far today of 31.263 miles an hour. Kilometers now, I'm sorry.
Information over the radio says that Alex Zulle seems to be in great difficulty on this climb, really suffering. A little bit further down, we'll be able to see him how far behind he is when we come over the top, which should be in about 200 or 300 meters, with Chiappucci still fighting at the frontier. What a rider. This rider really has got a temperament.
So through a very familiar corridor on a mountain pass in the Tour de France, these great giants of the road climb back to the summit now. 7 minutes plus has gone through. Let's have a little look at the leaders. That's the way down. You can imagine, couldn't you, you're in an aeroplane, because this is Richard Virenque, rejoined by Meurguialdi, who he dropped just before the summit of the Col de Marie-Blanque, and a long open road now on the descent, and they are about 39 kilometers from the finish. Let's go back to the action on the climb here as we come to the last few meters now. Charlie Motte at the back of this very elite group of four. Claudio Chiappucci continues to set the pace. Miguel Indurain will be quite content now, knowing that the man that had the cheek to steal his yellow jersey yesterday is now in big difficulties on the climb here. Indurain goes over there, he'll be 5th on the climb. Gianni Bugno goes over 6th, Charlie Motte is 7th. Still ahead of these four riders, the 3 original riders of the breakaway. We expect to see Dante Rezze will be caught soon. Will the other two? We'll take a break.
We choose a rider who's not necessarily one of the big names of the Tour, at least not yet, and follow his progress throughout the race. And since this is the Tour Sans Frontières, going through 7 countries, the man we've chosen this year is possibly the most international rider in the whole of the peloton.
You know, I was born in England. I lived 6 years in England. Then I went to Italy for 13 years. Then from Italy, went for 3 years in America, to Los Angeles.
These days, Max Sciandri, a promising young sprinter with the Motorola team, considers himself more Italian than anything else. Starved as we are of homegrown prospects on the Tour, we'll invoke the same rule that allows Cockneys to play football for Ireland and claim him as our own. And in fact, he will have a strong following on the Tour, back in Bournemouth.
That's where my grandmother, my grandfather, uncle, everybody, a lot of relatives live in that area. So every now and then we get together for the race in Wincanton, and it's really nice, you know, they follow me and they see my progress. And I think this year they come to see the Kellogg's too. They follow maybe a few more days. that's what I'm going to be doing after the Tour.
For the moment, though, the Kellogg's is still nearly 4,000 kilometres away, and over the first 8 of those, Max was a respectable 27 seconds off Miguel Indurain's prologue winning time. But he already had his eye on stage 1, which had the combination of climb and sprint finish that suits his style.
I'm a sprinter, but I'm not a field sprinter, you know. I mean, I can, out of 10 sprints, I can do 1 is okay. I can win a field sprint, but I prefer when the stage is a bit harder and a lot of the sprinters, they drop in the hills, then I can have a much better chance of winning.
Puncture on one of the climbs was an unwelcome interruption to Max's stage 1 plans, but it didn't really lose him any time, and only Johan Museeu's spoiling tactics kept him out of second place on the final sprint. All in all, an excellent opening to the Tour for our featured rider.
I think the hard races have to come, you know, but already from the first day, everybody's really active.
So you're quite happy with the way the Tour de France has started today?
Yeah, you know, a bit wet, but it was okay.
Well, thank you, Gary, and we're now watching the picture here of Charlie Motte. This race has come together over the closing miles, but not for those 2 riders in the lead. They are still clear, Virenque and Merguialdi. So too, this magnificent chase group. There's Dante Rezze, who got dropped by the 2 leaders. He survived with the likes of Chiappucci and Gianni Bugno. The battle behind, Greg LeMond has recovered somewhat. His group has now joined the big chase group, which also includes Eric Breukink, and they are approximately 30 seconds behind this group of Miguel Indurain. Greg LeMond may yet live to fight another day in this Tour de France. Let's have a look at the statistics this morning, though. 195 riders started this morning, and the significant names that we are missing: Marcel Verst, the RMO rider, who crashed yesterday and broke his collarbone. Rolf Sorensen, who crashed out of the Tour last year when wearing the yellow jersey. He's gone this year with a fever. And Federico Echave, the Spanish rider, also leaving with an upset stomach. And look at that average speed today, 36 kilometers an hour, despite the roads they've been over. Now let's have a look back at the big group here. Not surprising, Paul, that in fact it's Atle Volsvoll now who's trying to pull Greg LeMond back into this Tour de France.
All Greg's team have come to the front now to try and pull everything back together. LeMond's had a horrendous day early on. He had a puncture and was in a group that was 4 or 5 riders, 4 or 5 groups behind the lead group. He's been fighting all day, but this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to try and keep into contention, and he really has had to ride hard. He was 2.5 minutes behind at the top of the Col de Marie-Blanque, and he's riding himself back up to the leaders. There was LeMond just going out of the picture. Cavalsvoll here with the helmet, with the 2-way radio system there. LeMond, I think, if he only loses a minute today to Bugno, will be quite a happy man.
Well, it might even be less than that, because this group has really found the rhythm now. They're going like a train, and since they come together, the 2 leaders are in the streets of Po, and now they've found their second wind. This has been an absolutely outstanding attack by the boy in white, Richard Virenque, breaking away from the race today at around 26 kilometers. We're now coming to the end of 255 kilometers, and he could well even be given the King of the Mountains jersey. Look at that. 1 kilometer to go now for these 2 leaders, and then there will be quite a considerable wait before we see whether Indurain's group is in fact picked up by the group of Greg LeMond, which also includes Sean Kelly. One thing seems certain now, that the boy in white will be given the yellow jersey tonight, that of Alex Zulle, who has lost a lot of time, although he may have come back with LeMond in that big chase down a few moments ago. But right now, Richard Virenque is going to take and be yet another surprise leader of this Tour de France, because his overnight deficit was just 56 seconds over the race leader, behind the race leader rather, Alex Zulle.
Well, it's going to be a fantastic ride for Virenque. I remember a couple of years ago seeing him on his way to winning a stage of the Kellogg's Tour of Britain near Lincoln, and his bicycle had a problem with his gears and he got caught within a kilometre to go. Today, it looks as if he's certainly going to put the yellow jersey of the Tour de France onto his shoulders, and what a fantastic performance for a young Frenchman. Merguialdi's jumping clear here. Virenque tries to react. Merguialdi's obviously been doing a little bit less work, and Merguialdi looks as if he's going to go away and take the stage, but what's important for Virenque is that he'll take the yellow jersey.
So the line for Javier Merguialdi, and that is a victory for the Amaya rider. He's going to remember, but the same salute coming from Virenque. He doesn't care about the £5,000. He's got the yellow waiting for him. They both salute the crowd. This has been a great escape in the history of the Tour de France after 6 hours and 41 minutes in front. So Gianni Bugno He made the move, and again Indurain marked him well. Chiappucci was with him too, and the two RMO riders here in white, they've got their work cut out now, because it'll be the onus will be on them to make the pace tomorrow as they defend the lead of Richard Virenque, the other RMO rider, who's, I can tell you, he's sitting not far away from our commentary position here, and the tears are flooding down his face. He cannot believe, and he would never have suspected it, when he broke away after only 26 kilometres, that he would survive almost 7 hours ahead of the field and run out the overall leader today of the Tour, not by a few seconds, but just take a look at that clock on the left of the screen, by a good few minutes. This man will keep the lead now for a few days at least. Maybe we've got a story like the big chase down of Claudio Chiappucci a couple of years ago, and since then, of course, Claudio Chiappucci has risen to be a great name in any Tour de France. We're into the home straight now in the centre of Pau. 4:30, the clock will count them right to the finishing line today. Bugno wants those seconds to be as little as possible. He's still making the running at the front. Indurain follows him in the slipstream. The two RMO boys will try to finish this off, you know, with third and fourth. And look at Motte beginning to warm up nicely in fourth place. Bugno sees the finish now and is winding it up slowly, keeping them close on the barriers. They'll have to come on his left shoulder, and he's even going away. And look at the face of Indurain as he grits his teeth, because Bugno is going away for third place. They're not going to get near him. Chiappucci will be behind Bugno, and then comes Motte, and Rezze brings home that chase group of 5 at an average speed of 38, and the big chase is right behind them, so Greg LeMond has saved a lot of time as they come up to the barriers here. Maurizio Fondriest, Jesper Skibby, and the other rider from the Motorola team was Steve Bauer. They were the first three who brought them over, and Greg LeMond is in that group as well. And he's only conceded a handful of seconds to Indurain. What a day for Le Mans, the ups and downs of the Tour de France. Don't ask Greg what they're like. I look then first at the stage result, a win for the Spaniard Javier Meguialdi over Richard Virenque, and Gianni Bugno leading home the favourites, but 5 minutes and 5 seconds behind. So all smiles for Spain on the winner's podium, and the first day in France at that. The overall situation now looking like this. Richard Virenque is leading the race, but by a massive 4 minutes and 34 seconds ahead of the favourite Miguel Indurain. Gianni Bugno is 4 minutes 36 seconds back. Greg LeMond, his great fight back today, he's still in 10th place, 5 minutes 6 seconds back. These of course are provisional results. And tonight Richard Virenque is leading also in the King of the Mountains and the points competition. Well, from the face of a man who's now in complete control, at least today in the Tour de France, we go to the face of a rider of one of despondency, Greg LeMond. He had a hard chase back today. When he finished, he retired to his mobile home and pulled down the shutters. But he did allow this exclusive interview to our Paul Sherwin.
Greg, you were worried a little bit about this stage, but Lady Luck wasn't on your side today, was she?
No. Well, actually, I was quite lucky I didn't lose more time. I only lost 15 seconds, but I've felt terrible since the start. So the hard days are past, and I hope that, you know, I recuperate and get better.
We had a lot of bad luck in the start there with the punctures, and did you fall off as well?
No, I just punctured 2 times in the start, and on the hill I just wasn't capable of staying with the best. I'm just not, something's not right. I don't know what's wrong. I'm just not 100% at the start. I mean, I was much better a week ago in the Tour of Switzerland.
Well, for me, Greg LeMond is a great competitor, and he's not out of this Tour de France yet, believe me. Don't forget, all of today's results are on page 466 on Fortel. Tomorrow, the Tour de France moves on from Pau through the wine country, heading up to Bordeaux. A completely flat course. It should be the domain of the sprinter. And in our programme too, Gary Imlach will look at the rise and fall of Alex Zulle, the erstwhile leader of the Tour de France. But tonight, the yellow jersey is on the shoulders of the Frenchman, Richard Virenque. We'll leave you now with these very emotional pictures of a very happy man. Goodbye.
Allez, pardon, laissez-le avancer là, doucement. Alors, ça fait au moins